Hello. This presentation was made possible by the Clinical and Translational Science Institute. It is the second presentation in our series of UB ClinicalTrials.gov related presentations. The first one being, do I need to register for ClinicalTrials.gov? This one is slightly longer and more instructional, specifically focusing on the ClinicalTrials.gov protocol registration and results system, or PRS system, and how to register a trial in the system. The content of this presentation is a collaborative effort of a number of different institutions as well as individuals. The resources used will be listed in the end. ClinicalTrials.gov User Guide, UB User Guide developed by UB Clinical Research Regulatory Administrator Lynn Jagodzinski, and user guides and presentations from several other institutions and academic centers in the United States. One important caveat regarding this presentation is that there is a vast variety of circumstances for different trial registrations that cannot be fully encompassed within a single slide set and the limited length of this presentation. In this presentation, we will review how to register your study and, more specifically, how to get started, where to register, the protocol registration and results system, consequences for not registering your study, and references to a lot of resources and links that are useful, if not necessary, for actually registering a study. So how do you get started with registering your study? This is the ClinicalTrials.gov global public website. After you have completed registration of your trial and PRS has reviewed and approved the entry, PRS will assign a National Clinical Trial or NCT identifier number to the trial. Your study is not registered until you receive an NCT number for the study. The trial will then be placed on the ClinicalTrials.gov public website. Anyone can search the site for your specific study and look at the information that you have entered when you registered your study, as well as your study results once they become available and are entered. It is important to note that when registering a trial, there are timelines on when your trial must be completely registered in ClinicalTrials.gov to be in compliance with regulations, meaning that PRS has assigned your trial an NCT number. If you plan on publishing your study results, it is highly recommended that you register prior to the first subject enrollment due to International Committee of Medical Journal Editors policy. Possible penalties for not registering within the required time frame include rejection of publication, but also loss of funding, FDA sanctions or monetary penalties, or denial of Medicare and Medicaid claims. ClinicalTrials.gov Protocol Registration and Results System, or PRS, is a web-based data entry system. The system captures three basic types of information: registration, results, and adverse events. First thing you need to have to register your study information on ClinicalTrials.gov is a PRS account. Each organization or institution has one PRS account. UB's PRS account is SUNY Buffalo. Individual investigators are given user profiles in that account. Each institutional account can have many records or studies, but each study gets only one record, regardless of the number of sites it may include. To set up new user access, contact the UB PRS administrator, Lynn Jagodzinski, to request the user login and provide the following information: full name, department, login name of your choosing, email address, email that you use frequently, phone number, phone that you use frequently. Once the PRS administrator receives your account request, you will receive an email with a UB ClinicalTrials.gov registration and results guide, which will be helpful to you during the registration process. The PRS administrator will send a profile request to ClinicalTrials.gov. And then within 2 days, you will receive an email from ClinicalTrials.gov with your temporary password. Remember to change your password when you log into your new account. Here are some tips and recommendations for using the PRS system. Chrome and Firefox browsers are more likely to let you expand text boxes to see more. Use Microsoft Word or other Word program to create and edit these fields carefully. Do not use first or second person. For example, replace I and we with the investigator, replace you with participants. Typographical and spelling errors are not acceptable. You have to define all acronyms, and you can use notes provided by the PRS system to guide you. The draft receipt function provides a copy of your record as it appears in PRS. Studies should be registered by the responsible party, usually the principal investigator. The responsible party is legally responsible for registering their study record on ClinicalTrials.gov, ensuring accuracy and making sure that the content is kept up to date. There can only be one responsible party, but many PIs opt to add their staff, like RAs and coordinators, as users with access, who also have privileges to add and modify information. However, only responsible party can release records for PRS review once all the information is entered. After PRS review, which takes approximately 2 to 5 days to complete, you will receive an NCT number for your study, and it will be placed on the public website. If you have errors to correct, read the recommendations and/or requirements that PRS provides and make changes as necessary. The study must be sent back for PRS review until you receive an NCT number. If you do not make the required changes, the study record will not be complete and will not receive an NCT number until all recommendations and requirements are completed. The responsible party field defaults to sponsor in the PRS system. The University at Buffalo requires the following. If the study includes an investigational new drug application or an investigational device exemption, the IND or IDE holder and responsible party is the sponsor investigator. If your study is not under an investigator-held IND or IDE, the responsible party is the principal investigator. If you're a student, resident, or fellow, your faculty supervisor should be listed as the overall study official in the contacts section and should be added and given edit rights by adding them to the access list on the record summary page. Log onto the protocol registration and results system at register.clinicaltrials.gov using your username and password that was provided to you. As mentioned before, UB's organizational account name is SUNY Buffalo. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will be using an interventional study type. To register a study, you must first create a new record. From the PRS homepage, click on the New Record quick link or select New Record from the Records drop-down menu. As you enter data, the system will flag records with data entry problems and will specify the type of problem or problems that need to be addressed. Under the Help menu is a list of informational guides. They include a PRS user's guide that can be helpful if you're new to the PRS system. There are also PRS guided tutorials available just below the PRS user's guide. The results tutorial can be very helpful to investigators when results entry is needed. Some data elements are required, as indicated by a red asterisk, while others are conditionally required. For example, there are 3 basic types of system notices regarding data elements that may need to be corrected. Error is a serious issue that must be addressed before submitting your study for PRS approval. Warning is a potentially serious issue that should be reviewed and addressed as needed. And finally, note is a potential issue that should also be addressed as needed. As you enter information, system validation messages such as error, warning, and note may appear and disappear. As mentioned before, some data elements are required, while others are conditionally required. Start by entering information for all required data elements. Finish by addressing all remaining validation messages before submitting your study to PRS for review. The record status area and summary page shows the current status of the record in the PRS and provides controls for managing the record. The PRS record goes through the following stages for initial protocol registration and again for each update to the record, including the addition of results. In progress, initial data entry and update is ongoing. Entry completed, ready for internal review by investigator, that is, responsible party. Approved, record passed internal review by the investigator. Released, the study has been submitted to ClinicalTrials.gov. PRS review, under review by ClinicalTrials.gov, and public, study is posted on ClinicalTrials.gov public website. When the system detects that a record needs attention, a prompt indicating the apparent next step to take appears near the top of the record status area. For example, the record is in progress. As you complete more information in the study modules, the record summary will show your progress overall and on any other modules. To edit each section, click Open. For Study Identification module, enter the unique protocol identification number, usually the UB-IRB study number or the IRB study number from other IRBs. If applicable, the secondary ID is usually the grant number, funding agency number, or other funding source number. Enter a brief title, using terms easily understandable to the public. The brief title is a short and simplified version of the official title, but also unique. At UB, for example, it can come from what is listed on the Participate in Research Recruitment site. Enter an acronym for the study, if applicable. As mentioned in this tutorial, we're using the interventional study type. Expanded access records should only be created by the product manufacturer. The help link contains examples and data entry tips. The definitions link contains the meaning of terms and useful information about the field lengths. The official study title is required by the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. As mentioned before, if a clinical trial is funded in whole or part by a U.S. federal government agency, the complete grant or contract number must be submitted as a secondary ID. The NIH grant number should consist of an activity code, 3 or 4 numbers and letters, such as RO1, institute code, 2 letters, and a 6-digit serial number. It is possible that the 6-digit number on the end could have a dash and suffix. Study Status module. It is important to update the record verification date field every time you make changes to the study record, because a record for an active study must be reviewed, updated, and verified at least once per year. If the record is not updated every year, you will receive a problem notice next to your record, and you will receive an email from PRS stating that your record needs attention. This is how compliance is tracked. Overall recruitment status field refers to patient contact and data collection, not data analysis or status of the study with the IRB. The active not recruiting status is defined as study is ongoing, that is, patients are being treated or examined, but participants are not currently being recruited or enrolled. Completion dates are very important, especially for applicable clinical trials, as they drive the timeline for the study results entry. The primary completion date is the date that the final subject or participant was examined or received an intervention for the purposes of final collection of data for the primary outcome, whether the clinical trial concluded according to the pre-specified protocol or was terminated. The study completion date is the final date on which any outcome data for the study were collected. If you use the date from data analysis, database lock, publication, or IRB closure, you may have late results, which is not compliant with federal regulations and policies. Importantly, for applicable clinical trials and NIH-funded clinical trials, results must be entered within 1 year after the primary completion date. If there are 2 or more primary outcome measures, results are due 1 year from the latest primary completion date. Keep the primary completion date current. This is an important date for ClinicalTrials.gov, and your study may end up on the problem list if the date is not current, as late results reporting is considered the most significant infraction, which could result in notices from the FDA and NIH and penalties. In this example, primary outcome results are due by September 15, 2020, and all study results must be entered by March 15, 2021. Some secondary results may be due earlier depending on data collection timeframes. Responsible party field defaults to sponsor. If your study is not under an IND or IDE, choose Principal Investigator from the drop-down menu. The person identified as the responsible party acts as the official contact person for that account, and full contact information for that person must be listed in the PRS account. If the responsible party leaves the University at Buffalo, they must contact UB's ClinicalTrials.gov administrator as soon as possible to provide their future contact information so that it can be changed in the ClinicalTrials.gov study record. The investigator affiliation should be listed as the State University of New York at Buffalo. If the study is NIH funded, include the NIH Institute or Center as a collaborator. Collaborators also include other funders. Add as many as necessary. For board information, if the study was approved by the UB IRB, enter the following information: board name, University at Buffalo Institutional Review Board, UB IRB. Board affiliation, State University of New York at Buffalo. Board contact, phone number 716-888-4888. Email, ub-irb@buffalo.edu. Address, Clinical and Translational Research Center, 875 Ellicott Street, room 5018, Buffalo, New York, 14203. Only include United States Food and Drug Administration if the study is under an IND or IDE. Remember that you can get assistance from the help and definitions links at the top of the page in blue lettering. Describe the study hypothesis in terms understandable to the lay public. It can be adapted from the informed consent, but omit any and all personal pronouns such as we and you. The detailed description field is optional and can be left blank. It does not have to be in lay language. It can be adapted from the background or aim section of the protocol, but do not copy and paste the entire protocol. Make sure this field does not contain any promotional language. Where applicable, explain uncertainties or exploratory nature of the study. If there are any parts of the trial which the public cannot know about while the study is ongoing without affecting scientific integrity, such as deception research or inclusion-exclusion criteria, which could be easily faked in order to join a study, for example, reporting pain in order to have access to a controlled substance, it will be good to explain here, such as some inclusion-exclusion criteria are purposely omitted at this time to preserve scientific integrity. They will be included after the trial is complete. Enter each study condition or arm, one per line. Use the Search Mesh feature or the National Library of Medicine Medical Subject Headings feature for help. Make sure you include keywords so that it's easier to find your study in the public database. For study phase, use NA or not applicable for trials that don't involve drug or biologic products. For allocation, if it's a single-arm study with no randomization, use not applicable. And again, click the definitions link for assistance with any field definitions. Arms may not pre-exist based on the number of arms you defined in the previous section. You must add each arm. Do not title your arms as intervention or arm 1. Arm title should be more descriptive. Studies using multiple doses of the same drug can list the drug as one intervention. The doses should then be listed as separate arms, including placebo. For example, a 15 milligram tablet of the drug of interest and a tablet of placebo. On the Edit Arm Intervention Cross-Reference screen, select the appropriate checkboxes to indicate which interventions are associated with each arm in the study. Note that cross-reference tables will not exist for single-arm studies. For outcome measures information, please be as specific as possible. Title: include the name of the specific measure. Avoid using verbs, that is, do not enter to determine followed by description. Time frame must have a time point at which the outcome is assessed for the specific metric used. For example, hours, days, weeks, or years. Specify which study day the outcome is measured. Do not use until the end of study or death. Instead, use baseline and week 24. Description field describes what will be measured, not why it is measured. If the outcome measure is a questionnaire or a scale, provide the range and what low and high scores mean. Also, indicate whether this outcome measure is assessing a safety issue. As mentioned, for time frame, you need to be specific. For example, baseline, week 2, during hospitalization, approximately 5 days, post-intervention, week 12. When multiple time points are included and you're measuring change between the time points, add the word change to the title. If you're not measuring change, each time point needs to be listed as a separate outcome measure. Remember that completion dates should reflect completion of data collection for your outcome measures. Refer back to study status section as needed. If you're using a scale, include the range and meaning of the scores. For example, the Hamilton Depression Rating Scale is used for rating the severity of depressive symptoms. Scores range from 0 to 50, with highest scores indicating greater severity of depression. Also indicate if a scale is not linear. In the example on top, the title is not specific enough and includes the words to determine. In the corrected example below, there are 2 time points, so the word change is added to the title. The title also now includes the scale that will be used to assess change in pain, and the description includes the range of the scale and what the scale means. In this example, the title is not specific enough and includes the words to assess. Corrected, the title includes the metric, something measurable. The time frame includes the specific length of time, and the description defines adverse events or what is measured. Here are some more specific examples on how to enter outcome measures. More trial registrations get rejected for inadequate outcome measure precision or inaccurate or multiple time frames than anything else. Outcome measures should be specific and indicate what is being measured and what is being reported. Remember, outcome measures must be measurable outcomes. Use a list format for inclusion-exclusion criteria with a colon followed by a dashed list. Make sure that all criteria you post are appropriate for the public to see. Match this to informed consent more than to the protocol, especially if something might need to be masked from participants. If necessary, use detailed description field in the study description module to flag that the eligibility criteria are deliberately incomplete to preserve the scientific integrity of the study. Aside from the central contact person, like a study coordinator, and a possible backup, be sure to add the PI as a study official. The study official is required by the World Health Organization and the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. For multi-site studies, all sites should be entered only after the IRB has approved that location. You can copy locations from organization's master list and then select the ones that apply to your study. If you have entered the central contact, an individual facility contact is not required, but may be helpful if a potential participant calls or emails about the study. you still need to enter the facility name and recruitment status. Site recruitment status must be consistent with overall recruitment status. For example, if overall recruitment status is not recruiting, no site can be recruiting. The IPD, or Individual Participant Data Sharing Statement, is an optional module in ClinicalTrials.gov, but required by the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. This module collects information on how individual participant data and other supporting materials will be made available to other researchers. As an example of IPD Sharing Statement: plan to share IPD? Yes. Plan description? All IPD that underlie results in a publication will be shared. Supporting information: study protocol and informed consent form. Time frame: materials will be made available 6 months after publication of the primary outcomes. Access criteria: data and study materials relevant to any publication will be posted within 6 months of publication on the Open Science Framework, which will be accessible by any interested party. You can also provide the URL or web address for any additional information. The References module includes citations for journal articles and publications, links to websites related to the study, and links to available individual participant data sets and other supporting information. Once you have gone through the entire record, the record summary page will show you if there are any sections that still need attention. As previously mentioned, errors must be addressed before releasing the record for PRS review. Warnings and notes indicate potentially serious issues that should be addressed as needed. Also remember to click the spelling link to address spelling errors and unexpanded acronyms, which may result in PRS comments if not resolved. Once all required information is entered in the record, remember to look for the Next Step box at top of the record page with instructions for the next steps to complete the registration. You will see a blue-green button with either Entry Complete or Approve or Release. When all required information is entered into the record, select the Entry Completed button. Until you click the Entry Completed button in the Next Step box, the record remains in progress. The responsible party, usually the PI, must then review the record for accuracy and completeness, assessing whether any corrections need to be made. If information is complete, the responsible party can select the Approve button. Then the responsible party must select the Release button to submit the record to ClinicalTrials.gov for quality assurance review by the PRS team. Until the Release button is selected, the record is not complete and it will not be submitted to ClinicalTrials.gov PRS for review. These steps are required every time a change is made to the record. It is important to note that you need to monitor the progress of your PRS review, as you may receive PRS review comments that are required to be completed and sent back to PRS for review within a required time frame. PRS reviews usually take 2 to 5 business days to be returned, but may take longer. If the study record is a review of study record with results, it may take up to 30 days if the study is an applicable clinical trial or is NIH funded. Other types of study records with results may take even longer. Requests for email assistance or for teleconference should be submitted to register@ClinicalTrials.gov. As mentioned before, whoever initiates the registration is automatically assigned as the record owner, but this can be changed if needed. The record owner, if not the PI, should add the PI and anyone else on the study team who needs to edit the record to the access list. After initial submission, you may receive PRS reviewer comments. Pink flagged PRS review comments indicate that your study record needs attention. After PRS review with comments, record status is set back to In Progress, and review comments will be flagged in the Next Step box. Click on the pink Review Comments box to read the review responses, which will require changes to your submission before you are provided an NCT number. Your study is not complete until you receive an NCT number. A ClinicalTrials.gov record that has been released to the public can never be deleted. It can likely be revised or transferred, for example, to a different PI, university, or institution, but not deleted. What are some of the consequences of not registering your clinical trial? Here are just a few examples of consequences of not complying with registration and reporting requirements. If an NIH-funded clinical trial is not registered, it can result in loss of NIH funding for both the principal investigator and their institution. Journals that follow the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors' recommendations will not review an article submitted for publication if it is not registered with ClinicalTrials.gov and does not have a valid NCT number. Medicare and Medicaid will deny claims related to a clinical trial if there is no NCT number. As mentioned, there are numerous helpful resources available to assist you with registering your trial at ClinicalTrials.gov. One of them being the ClinicalTrials.gov Registration and Results Guide created by UB's Regulatory Administrator Lynn Jagodzinski. Please note that the recommendations within this presentation should not be seen as necessarily required by law in all cases, and the vast variety of circumstances for different registrations cannot be fully encompassed within a single slide set. This slide set was made possible by Clinical and Translational Science Institute at the University at Buffalo, Quality Assurance and Quality Control Discussion Group, Clinical Trials Registration and Results Reporting Task Force, ClinicalTrials.gov administrators at a number of academic medical centers around the United States who share efficient best practices for most registrations based on their experience within their institutions, and ClinicalTrials.gov. If you are planning research studies including clinical trials, please feel free to contact Lynn Jagodzinski or Jaanimägi at the UB CTSI with questions. They can provide you guidance as you navigate the ClinicalTrials.gov system. Thank you for giving your time to learn about registering your study at ClinicalTrials.gov. Have a nice day.